welcome. I'm doing a page in my board book, and a board book is one of those real fat page children's books. So I've done several pages. I'm actually on my last final page, and I've prepped all of them. I sand off the color and I prepped them all with gesso, but in this case I'm going to use this piece of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to snip off the bottom and then glue them on individually per side. Now my book is 5.5 by almost 6, so I can get full coverage out of one sheet of paper, one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So just keep that in mind when you're buying books. I mean 5.5 by 6 is probably the largest I would do. I do have some smaller ones that I might start in after this, but I don't know. I think they're fun. I don't do them enough. I think my next ones I probably won't do double sides. I don't know. I'm just throwing around my head that I might just do one side. We'll see. So once I glue it on, I just take a little cutting mat and my X-Acto knife and trim. I've tried scissors, and because the board book page is so thick, it is hard to cut with scissors. It sometimes mangles the page a little bit, but you do it however you feel comfortable doing it. I'm comfortable with the X-Acto knife. I do use a scissor around the corners. But yeah, you do however you want to do it. I've sped this up a little bit because it is just kind of tedious. You're just cutting and gluing. I like this paper because it looks like a plastered wall or a concrete wall, and I wanted something that didn't have a lot of pattern but had something going on. So I thought this was a good choice. I wish I had a few more of them, but I don't. I think I have one more. I think it came in a pack with, it came in a pad where it had 2 of each design. You could go all the way across. The only problem would be when you're folding it, it's going to add some more bulk in the fold. So if you want to try that, try it. I prefer to not have the bulk in the fold. Also, there is a difference in board books. I bought one recently and I was starting to use it, and I realized it was a cheaper one, like one that, I don't know, I might even say that McDonald's was giving them out or something with their Happy Meals. But this one I'm working on now, it was a true book, and I mean I got it secondhand, but when you fill it up and when you remove the back, and if you want to look how I prep it, I do have a video on that, but you remove the back seam or the back binding, and that helps the pages to expand. On the cheaper ones, they don't expand. So I've got some that I'm probably going to have to toss out because they're not going to expand like I want them to. So I'm using this sticker. I think it's called the Professor. Yes. And I'm using the light bulb. I had actually in my mind thought that there were 2 light bulbs in this pack, but there's only one. I would have preferred it to have 2 so you could do some variation of the light bulb, but I'm gonna go with what I've got. I'm gonna put 2 on each side. I'm gonna stamp with my Versamark stamp because I'm gonna emboss with platinum. Some platinum embossing powder. Now the right side, since it's the last page of the book, there's like nothing behind it. So I do, here in a bit, put a block behind it to give it a little bit of something behind it because it is not hitting the bottom of the page. I think I do bend it here too. And with this stamp, it's fine, but the next stamp, I can't do that because I need both hands. I also kind of wish I had raised that stamp up a little bit, so when you're doing yours, maybe if you decide to make this, you can maybe make it a little higher on the outsides. Like the one on this page, the outside one is higher, which works much better. And I tried to figure out what, oh, not yet. I'm not going to go there yet. Now I'm going to emboss it with the platinum. And it does look like embossing powder there, but it isn't. It is the shadow or the printed shadow of the stucco or concrete wall. And now I'm going to emboss it. And I'm going to speed that up as well, just so it doesn't take quite as long. And you can always put it in the light and then you can see any spots that didn't quite get embossed to their fullest. And I was trying to figure out what to do with the cords or what's going to hang on. And I grabbed this. It's really meant to stamp an edge of a card or a tag to give it a sewn look. And I thought, well, I think that would be perfect for the hanging string or wire for the lights. And here's where I like, okay, I need 2 hands, so I need my block. And I line it up on a grid line so that helps me get it straight in the top. I hope I remember that if I ever do lights again, because I really liked how that turned out. The last one doesn't have much room, so I remove any of the embossing stamp from the very bottom squiggly line and just do the upper portion of it. It would have been fine for the squiggly line though, I think. And again, I am embossing. Could you do them all at once? It would be tricky because your second stamp could mess up your original stamp. Well, yeah. And it would be hard to see. It's not that it could mess it up, it's just it would be hard to see and line it up. And you can always re-emboss. So like you can emboss on top of embossing. Just be careful because it will melt it again. Oh, isn't that fantastic looking? I love that. I'm going to add a little bit of rusty hinge on the bottom corners and in the center of the book on the bottom. And I'm going to do a little bit of stamping before moving on. I have this stamp, gosh, I've had it for a long time and I honestly can't remember where I got it from, but it's just a vertical numbers and I just love this stamp. I don't use it very often, I forget about it, but I thought it would be nice on this one. And now I'm going to do some stamping with it's the Faded Type stamp set from Tim Holtz. I'm going to use the alphabet one, or well, I guess they are all alphabets, but kind of like the handwriting sampler. And I'm just going to do it with my hands without a block because I'm just going to randomly stamp it. I'm using Archival graphite, I'm sorry, graphite. You can tell I'm having a hard time deciding where I want them to go. next I'm going to add some texture paste. I'm going to get my brick stencil. This is a Tim Holtz stencil. I'm going to basically go over the rusty hinge areas. And I'm okay with going on top of anything stamped. It will peek out when it can. And I'm not using Tim Holtz. This is the white Crackle, and I was unable to get Tim Holtz at the time, and so I'm using Rangers. And I've had some negative thoughts about it because it is kind of messy. It leaves bits and pieces of it like flaking from the jar, not after you've applied it, but I'm rethinking that because, well, we're gonna see, but I tell you, I've had it for a while and my Tim Holtz would already be getting hard. I'd be adding water to it. This is definitely a wetter consistency than Tim Holtz. So I don't know, it might last longer. We'll see. I'm going to put a little bit in the center as well. And this is Crackle, so I'm going to have to wait for the Crackle to dry. And I am going over the crease, so you'll have to see what I do to fix that, because you really don't want it, I don't think it'd be a good idea for it to dry and harden there. I think that would kind of mess up your closing. So I'm just going to take the point of my little tool and just run it down the seam there, wipe it off, and do it again. And that pretty much takes off any of the texture paste on the crease. Now I'm going to set that aside to dry. And I'm going to first add some vintage photo around the whole book edge. You can see the texture paste has taken on a lot of the color from the rusty hinge. You could definitely put your stencil back in place if you wanted to color your bricks. Maybe put some crackling campfire, or I think it'd be fun to do like speckled egg, but I didn't really want any blue. But I think that would look good, even though it would be unusual. And I'm going to add a little bit in my light bulbs. I'm going to start doing some collage, and I'm really only going to do the collage on top of the brick. Everything is digital downloads except for the sentiment. If you don't happen to have these exact downloads, just use whatever you have. And remember, you're gluing on to texture paste, so it takes a little more holding time just to make it stick to the texture paste. Everything gets vintage photo around the edge just so there aren't any white edges. There I opted to see more of the light bulb than the 2, although I think you can figure out that that is a 2. I do snip that one leaf off. And the only thing left then is for my sentiment. And I choose always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. I often don't get a chance to use real long ones, and so I took a long one and I broke it up into 2. Oh yeah, I forgot about that little number there. Sorry. Now I'm going to do the sentiment. And I do put the vintage photo on the edges of it just because I'm sure they were cut and might be white. And even though they are from a sticker book, I glue them just so that, you know, a month or 2 or years down the road, they are not popping off. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you haven't subscribed, I invite you to do that. If you like this, give me a thumbs up or a comment. And I've got some final pictures coming up, and I'll see you next time.